How the Forgotten War Shaped the Cold War. A war without a name. In the annals of history, some conflicts are etched in bold letters. World War II, Vietnam, the Gulf Wars. But there is one war that remains shrouded in obscurity despite its profound impact on global geopolitics. It was a war fought without formal declarations, where soldiers marched into battle under the shadow of proxy politics and ideological struggle. This was the Korean War, 1950 to 1953, often referred to as the Forgotten War. Yet, for all its anonymity, this brutal conflict set the stage for decades of tension between East and West during the Cold War era. How could such a pivotal event fade from public memory? The answer lies not only in how the war unfolded, but also in what it left behind. A world divided by Iron Curtains and nuclear standoffs. This narrative seeks to unearth the untold story of the Korean War, exploring its origins, battles, and lasting legacy. By understanding this forgotten chapter, we gain insight into the forces that shaped modern international relations. So join me as I take you through the harrowing landscapes of Korea, where ordinary people became pawns in an extraordinary power play, and discover why remembering this war matters more than ever today. Origins of the Korean Divide. To comprehend the significance of the Korean War, we must first revisit the events leading up to it. At the end of World War II, Japan's defeat left its former colony, Korea, occupied by Allied forces. The Soviet Union controlled the northern half, while the United States oversaw the south. Initially intended as a temporary measure, this division solidified along the 38th parallel, creating two separate governments with starkly different ideologies. In the north, Kim Il-sung established a communist regime backed by Moscow and Beijing. In the south, Syngman Rhee led a pro-Western government supported by Washington. Tensions simmered as each side sought unification under their respective banners. On June 25, 1950, these tensions erupted when North Korean troops crossed the 38th parallel, launching a surprise invasion aimed at overthrowing the South Korean government. What followed was a cataclysmic clash involving over 20 nations, including major powers like the United States, China, and the Soviet Union, all vying for dominance in a post-colonial world. Turning points that define the war. The early months saw swift advances by North Korean forces, pushing South Korean and American troops to the brink of defeat. However, General Douglas MacArthur's daring amphibious landing at Incheon turned the tide. UN forces pushed northward, nearly reaching China's border, an action that prompted Chinese intervention. The entry of hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers transformed the war into a grueling stalemate, marked by brutal trench warfare reminiscent of World War I. One of the most iconic moments came during the Battle of Chosin Reservoir in winter 1950. Amid sub-zero temperatures, U.S. Marines faced overwhelming odds against Chinese forces. Their miraculous breakout became a symbol of resilience and courage. Yet, despite heroic efforts on both sides, neither coalition achieved decisive victory. By 1953, an armistice agreement halted hostilities but failed to resolve underlying issues, leaving Korea technically still at war even today. Human cost and ideological fallout. Beyond military strategies and political maneuverings, the human toll of the Korean War cannot be overstated. Over 4 million lives were lost or displaced, with civilians bearing the brunt of the devastation. Cities lay in ruins, families torn apart, and entire generations scarred by unimaginable suffering. For many Koreans, the war represented not just a fight for territory, but a struggle for identity amidst clashing ideologies. On the global stage, the Korean War served as a litmus test for Cold War dynamics. It demonstrated the willingness of superpowers to engage indirectly through proxies rather than risk direct confrontation, a strategy that would define future conflicts like Vietnam and Afghanistan. Moreover, it underscored the importance of collective security arrangements, prompting NATO expansion and reinforcing alliances worldwide. Ultimately, the Korean War cemented the bipolar structure of international relations. As historian David Halberstam noted, Korea was the first war America lost, not militarily but politically. Its unresolved nature highlighted the limitations of military might in achieving political objectives, a lesson policymakers continue grappling with today. By examining these facets, the roots of division, key turning points, and far-reaching consequences, we begin to see why the Korean War deserves recognition beyond its label as forgotten. Far from being merely a footnote in history, it laid the groundwork for the ideological battles that defined much of the 20th century. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us of the enduring cost of war, not just in terms of lives lost, but dreams deferred. Remembering history to shape the future. As we reflect on the Korean War's legacy, one question looms large. Why does remembering this seemingly distant conflict matter now? The answer lies in its relevance to contemporary challenges. Today, geopolitical tensions echo those of the Cold War era, with rising rivalries between democratic and authoritarian regimes. Nations like North Korea remain flashpoints, their actions rooted in unresolved grievances stemming from the Korean War. Understanding this history equips us to navigate current crises with greater clarity and empathy. But remembrance must go beyond passive acknowledgement. It requires active engagement. Educators can incorporate the Korean War into curricula, ensuring younger generations grasp its significance. Museums and memorials should tell its stories vividly, honoring those who sacrificed so much. Policymakers, too, have a role to play by drawing lessons from past mistakes, fostering dialogue instead of division. Take a moment to learn about the Korean War. Read books, watch documentaries, visit exhibitions dedicated to its memory. Share what you discover with others, sparking conversations about peace building and reconciliation. Together, let's ensure that no war, no matter how obscured by time, is truly forgotten. By doing so, we honor the past while shaping a more informed, compassionate future.